York and in many other big cities are mentally ill patients walking around that are not being treated because to treat them would be a violation of their personal liberty. Another group, welfare mothers. These were the victims, or the beneficiaries, depending on how you look at it, of the welfare rights revolution that destigmatized illegitimacy. And finally, addicts came out of a generation that celebrated tuning in, turning on, and dropping out, and we've seen how far they dropped.
Well, there's some truth in that. Let me just go to Doug for a moment.
Well, we're going to have an argument about, what the interaction is and whether the drug abuse came first or the homelessness came first. I think there's an overriding point to realize here, and that is, unlike the conversation of 10 years ago, we're arguing here about how sick the homeless are, not whether they're just like you and me. And we're not talking about some Hollywood couple who were in a fine house with a picket fence and suddenly the world fell apart and they were on the streets, and we should all shudder because we could all be in that condition. We're talking now about nuances of data, and we should just realize that the political discourse ought to catch up. That is to say, we ought to realize that homeless people have vast needs, and they are not just like the rest of us.
We searched the records of a dozen homeless people suspected in the most recent horrific attacks. None had extensive criminal history. Forensic neuropsychologist Dr. Judy Ho believes 3 factors can lead a homeless person to become violent. The constant stress of trying to survive on the street.
Homelessness is a stressor. It can be a traumatizing stressor. The longer they stay there, the more potential they might have to experience other forms of trauma.
For generations, owning a home has been part of the California dream. But for millions today, finding affordable housing has become a nightmare. Our housing crisis is out of control, and it's one of the big reasons we have a homeless crisis. 130,000 people now live on the street in the Golden State. From this former nurse living in a tent on Skid Row, to this former engineer living in an RV in West LA.
They consider us criminals.
To the Lopez family living in a motel room in Mission Hills, paid for by LA County.
We just got out of Skid Row. We are blessed to be with LA Housing.
There are a lot of reasons people end up on the streets, but in California, the top reason is money. There simply aren't enough homes and apartments that people can afford.
It has to be tackled. It is a legitimate crisis in the state. We're losing the middle class.
Governor Newsom is pushing cities to build 3.5 million new homes in 6 years. But some say that's impossible because of a standoff in California now between the haves and the have-nots.
Right now, you've got a large number of very wealthy single-family homeowners who feel no sense of obligation to the next generation to build more housing. It's almost as if they've got theirs and they're pulling up the ladder.
Richard.
They've got theirs and they're pulling up the ladder. Ain't that some shit? Hey guys, what up? Total Control 871. I know it's been a minute. Can you guys see me okay? I know the source of light is behind me. Is there enough light out here, or should I turn and face the other way? I think I'll be okay. Besides, you guys know what my ugly mug looks like. Anyway, once again, revisiting our homelessness crisis. A lot of very interesting points were brought up there in those segments. Of course, from our 25-year-old think tank, we had our conservative on the panel who believes that it was all self-destructive choice. What did she have on her little chiffon neckerchief or whatever it was? Of course, she had her belief that it's a lot of self-destructiveness. I'm not going to say that poor choices are not in the ingredients, but it would really surprise you as to what actually does trigger homelessness and what sets it into motion. Today, I very much indeed would like to talk about the pathology, the economics. I want to talk about the entitlements of it all. We hear a lot about how poor people have entitlement gone crazy. what about rich people's entitlement? They're in our West Coast. They have the West Coast has some weird ass building code laws in effect out there. They're living among their homeless in a fashion that makes no sense. What is it that what was her name? The rat's nest, and she had to get out of her car, and she gets a cold. She has to shop in West Hollywood. Nowhere else will do. She just has to shop in West Hollywood with her bottle job blonde hair, because, she has to. She'll catch a cold. She'll get deathly sick if she shops anywhere else other than West Hollywood. Oh, okay. So, we have the la-di-da types like that are hell-bent on preserving their la-di-da society. Their precious San Francisco, their Bay Area, the quaint 3-story homes, That's why they are very anti-high-rise. Excuse me. Anti-high-rise out in San Francisco. That whole Silicon Valley area. Although, truth be told, I really have no idea if those new millennials and Generation Z software engineers are really that in love with the building design or not. I really don't know. But so you want to preserve this. However, in your endeavors to preserve it, you've triggered, Silicon Valley, real estate oligarchy, greed, capitalism run amok, completely out of control, and therefore you now have homelessness at just beyond crisis levels. You're talking about entire neighborhoods that are just swarmed with homeless people. So if this is in your neighborhood, then doesn't that kind of impact the quaintness of your neighborhood? Wouldn't it be better to have a low-income high-rise, a couple of low-income high-rises? So it then begins to, you're now, whether you're aware or not, you're getting off into the psychology of things. Why should they get to live here being poor when I have to pay so much money being rich? I don't know. Why are you paying that much? It didn't always cost that amount of money. Sorry. Who remembers Three's Company? Come and knock on your door. I really wasn't that big of a fan of the show, but I at least watched enough. If I was like, God, I'm going to totally date myself here. If I was turning the dial, God, I feel so old. If I was turning the dial and I came across Three's Company, then I'd probably stay and watch. And I watched enough episodes to at least know that, well, they lived in California area, and they weren't that far from the beach. Okay. And I also remember that their 2-bedroom apartment cost $300. I believe each of them always had the rent and whatnot. They would each have to come up with $100 to pay their rent. and yeah, that really wasn't that long ago. That was back in your 80s. What the fuck happened? Silicon Valley happened. So, you allowed that to happen. I fully acknowledge, everybody, both sides of the situation out there. I acknowledge what's going on, but I don't think you're doing a very good job targeting the source of your woe. You really are not. housing crisis. We just saw our guy talk about what they say needed 3.5 million new homes. It's a very interesting number, and I'm about to show you why. I also showed you that old think tank segment because I really want to refresh your mind as to how long these social services, nonprofits, think tanks have been hard at work, diligently trying to figure out how in the world can we solve homelessness. How can we solve it? You would seriously think they were trying to figure out, some great, Fermat's last theorem, or, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was recently solved, or so they say. You would think they were desperately trying to solve some great mathematical equation. And I swear to God, the solution to the problem, when I stumbled upon it and how old the solution was, I was just shocked and stunned. I don't know whether to talk about how this, because we hear so much, especially in that segment about the crisis. I'll link everything down below. There was a CBS crisis in California segment there. Reverend Bales, he's the one out there with wants to build $100 million shelters, and there are a number of other nonprofits out there, each chomping at the bit, each desperate to secure government funding so that they can take a crack, they can have their turn at bat solving the homelessness crisis. As because I gotta pay to get my lawn cut, what time is it? It's 12 minutes into this thing. Lord bless his heart. Cousin Derek. He's gone on to glory now. Cousin Derek had some very interesting, colorful stories in life. He and a buddy met a chick. The long story short was that in his seducing, he was quite the ladies' man. And wait, I'm going to pause that story. What if I were to go to, what if you were to go to, if they found life on a different planet and it's intelligent and developed, and, we were able to commute in between, whatever. And this alien civilization, they're struggling with the problem on their planet. We're desperate. We're hard at work trying to develop a new strain of grass seed. We're genetically engineering grass seed, and oh my God. And of course, the human scientists visiting, like, well, hey, is there something we can do? We'd like to, what's going on here? And it's eventually explained to the human scientists that, well, what we're trying to do here is we need to grow a type of grass that does not stick to our lawnmower blades after we have watered our grass. Human scientists would look at each other like, oh, okay, so how much money are you? Oh, my God, this is a national crisis. We're pumping billions of dollars into developing this particular strain of grass. We need to grow we need to have grass that after we've just got finished watering it, it won't stick to our lawnmowers. It won't clog up the lawnmower engines. It won't, And of course, those of us here on Earth, we're like, we don't why not just cut the grass first and then water it? And of course, the aliens, their scientists, their nonprofits, their everything associated in orbit, and their subcontractors, they're pounding the dust. Oh, this is sacrilege. This is completely nonsense. This earthling nonsense. We didn't bring these people to our planet to meddle in our affairs. This is, oh my God, they have their own agenda. Oh. And of course, we on Earth are like, what the fuck are you talking about? Just cut the grass first and then water it. Problem solved. Problem solved. This is how we homeless people view so many nonprofits and government agencies as you struggle to solve our problem. You are hell-bent on funding all of this crazy shit. You will put, what was it I think I just saw? There was one, we'll pay you money to pick up the trash, It's been tried before, these homeless job things. It's fine, it's money in your pocket, but who are we kidding? It always runs out of money in about a year or so, that program, largely due to the fact that it's the administrative costs. There's always somebody that's going to latch on. Every time they create a program, there's always going to be administrators looking to latch on and drain the funding by paying themselves, by finding different ways to pay themselves. That's very much indeed the punchline of Cousin Derek was he was such a motherfucker. He gets this woman, talks her into having sex, and says that when we're done, because she apparently she wanted oral sex, and he told her, okay, this is what I do, but my buddy loves to give oral. So after Cousin Derek watered the grass, he told his buddy, all right, you can go in there and cut the grass now. Oh my God. Man, he's got these really fucked up stories. And yeah, he left. He just, got up and left and split. And she's pissed off and he's pissed off. And that was Derek. But yeah, how much time have I got here? I've got enough time to, okay, so hopefully I've driven home the importance of, having things in proper working order. By the way, it's a massive log jam in my head. I'll never be able to get everything out. It's been, a while since I've done a video. Massive log jam. I want to talk about Trump. So, talking about our California. Trump knows very much indeed that he is in danger of losing. Excuse me. He's in danger of losing some red states in 2020, and he is counterattacking. That's why his involvement in the homeless crisis is basically the border wall 2.0. I don't think he'll be able to sell, the wall story twice. So now his revamped version, because it's the same script, different cast. Instead of now the aliens are your enemy, the homeless. The homeless are your enemy. Let's incarcerate the homeless. And of course, they come up with their euphemisms of obligated to shelter or whatever it is. Bottom line is that he is looking to trigger and initiate forced concentration camps for the homeless. And that's what that's what he does. It's what he excels in. Drawing division between people, between the classes of people. And yes, he is definitely trying to, in a bold move, dangle the prospect of mass incarceration, concentration camp of California to get their electoral vote, to flip California, that big ass fucking state, red. That's what it's all about, people. He didn't come through, so I'm telling you now, if you're out there listening, he fucking let the Southern, he conned the Southern states into thinking he could build a wall. He is running a con job. He is starting to run a con job, making you think that he'll have the authority to mass incarcerate all homeless people. He doesn't have that authority. Trust me, he does not have that fucking authority. Anyway, so sequential order. Our what does he say? 3.5 million homes were needed. Well, I can't believe how old this solution has been. And you guys know how much I love to ride the Jew's ass. I want to introduce you to the middle class Messiah. And he's a Jew.
Everyone expected a good peace to now follow. Few could begin to imagine just how abundant or anxious their lives would become.
I knew you were coming out of bake the cake, bake the cake, bake the cake. If I knew you were coming out of bake the cake, how'd you do, how'd you do, how'd you do?
In the first year of peace, more than 2 million couples were married. By 1950, 21 million babies had been born in a seemingly endless baby boom.
Oh, I don't know.
I was 6 and I wanted to go and marry the girl that was writing the 3 letters a week to me for 4 years. And she lived in Floral Park, had a tavern there. And I moved in with the family. There was a mother and father, her sister and brother, and myself, and a baby coming on after a year.
Despite weeks and months of house hunting, some 3 million married couples throughout the country today are still unable to establish homes of their own.
It was 2 years, 2 years in furnished rooms, and if you could see some of the dumps we lived in, it was really, remember that attic room?
Yes.
In Jamaica? Yeah.
I've got to have a home. No one is to blame. Yet everyone is to blame. There's been a lag in home construction for more than 15 years.
In 1945, Americans needed 5 million new low-cost homes, and they needed them right away.
Now there are building
The
materials.
elusive dream of home ownership would soon be realized by a man about to fulfill a dream of his own and invent a new phenomenon, suburbia.
A gift from heaven. There he is, the Messiah. I can't help but wonder how many of you people have pictures of Jesus up in your home. All you white Christians. Do you have any idea how much you owe your life to this one Jewish man? Let's see if I can get this focus right here. Hopefully I am focusing. I think I might need my my light on. All right. Sun's going down. Yes, William Levitt of the infamous Levittown construction. It goes on in that documentary to talk about how William Levitt. Am I in focus? You're gonna have to excuse me. I'm sorry. I got you guys all dizzy. I just need to see if I'm in focus rather than. See, okay, I think I put my hand in focus there at a distance. All right, sorry. Okay. Hopefully I'm in focus. William Levitt, middle class messiah, godfather of the middle class. What it goes on to say in that documentary is that the baby boom, GIs, and I don't want to slight our troops. God knows everyone. God, I shudder to think of the future we would have today if each and every one did not sacrifice the way that they did. But who are we kidding? We're not exactly, excuse me, we're not exactly talking a bunch of MIT engineers went off to war. It just simply wasn't the way it was. And William Levitt, he does have a history in construction. Father was a real estate lawyer, a bunch of other stuff like that. So, but the thing was is that when we go to talk about our aliens who want to cut their grass after watering it, our nonprofits and our government, our highly inefficient government who looks to the massive fundings of they want to do everything except do housing first. They just don't want to hand out the keys to the apartment. And to us homeless people, it's crazy, it's psychotic, it's every bit as bizarre as the aliens wanting to water their grass before cutting it. It makes no sense. I mean, it could be done, I suppose. And you could, with enough money, develop the grass and develop a special lawnmower and a whole bunch of other shit, but for just a fraction of the cost, a micro fraction of the cost, all you have to do is change how you're doing things, Anyway, so William Levitt, you would think that this man was some great mastermind. It's like I can so envision him, because they talk about it in the documentary. He just basically went around to his fellow enlisted men. Probably he may or may not have had a little flip pad, and a pen, maybe jot down a couple of notes, Basically, it was the same question that he was asking all of them. When this war is over, what do you want? They all played like broken records. They just want their little patch of green. Kind of like what I got. They didn't want Taj Mahals. They didn't have grandiose ideas of corporate titans. Dude, all they wanted was their own little slice of heaven, their own little patch of green. That's it. And that's what William Levitt made happen. He served in the CBs. I want to say that right. SEABEE. You vets let me know if I'm saying it right. And that's what he did. He took the construction, bare bone construction, fast construction. You had to convert those beaches into landing strips and barracks for troops like that, like really quick. You couldn't dick around with this thing. So there was no Union gold bricking driving up the price. Anyway, so yeah, and that's basically what he did. Came back, and he's like, with these baby boomers. I don't know if they call them baby boomers back then, but he saw the need and he made the supply. If we saw in our crisis, our homeless crisis, they said 3.5 million homes are needed. William Levitt banged out 5 million. This is possible. It's not like William Levitt didn't hem and haw, and he didn't commission committees, and let's all study, and, well, William, I know you want to do this, but let's, we'll see if we can get some money, and we'll have to study the problem. We'll have to take some surveys, and they didn't send out social workers to our senior citizen couple. They were talking about how they had to shack up with relatives, and that couple, they went on to talk about, You know, oh my God. It was all of them hoarded together in their little New York brownstone. And, great, so the Air Force isn't testing anymore. They were doing maneuvers earlier, so now I get the neighbor kids screaming their fucking head off. Anyway, but, so there was no commissioning and all this other crazy shit. How much time have I got here? 30! Oh God, we're here already. Anyway, William Levitt, it's going to be a part 2 anyhow. William Levitt, he saw to the need and he made that shit happen. It was like basically McDonald's mass production of homes. And there was no hemming and hawing. He set you up for success. This is the thing that I don't quite understand. When we think about our 08, 09 mortgage meltdown, subprime mortgage, the language of all those mortgages were clearly crafted to set the buyers, gullible buyers, up for failure. William Levitt and all his Jewish power, oligarchy power, I suppose if he wanted to, he could have done that. He could have fucked our little senior citizen couple in their youth, gullible, desperate, needing to get out, because, oh my God, they boiled diapers. That's what I was about to say. Back then, they were boiling diapers on the stove. I'm sure that made for a lovely smell. Nothing says loving like something in the oven. But yeah, it's going to be a part 2. It's 32 now. It's about to shut me off. Part 2, hopefully you'll stick around for it. But if not, thanks anyway for listening. Total Control 871, part 2 coming now.